glitch in the Valentine's Day Matrix. Standing in Target before Valentine's Day, staring at the heart-shaped boxes littering the shelf, I reached inside one of them and took a piece of chocolate. Behind me, although I didn't realize it at first, or I wouldn't have taken the chocolate, was a gorgeous woman. She was wearing red, but she did not work for Target after a quick inspection. She was staring at this one large heart that had the Disney Frozen characters on the front, and she was crying. Gazing at this scene did something to me. I reached for the heart box and said, "I'll buy this for you, if you really want it." Her extremely pretty face lit up. My feelings of guilt for taking the chocolate subsided. I walked to the front of the store to pay for it. She followed. I held the bag in my hand as I walked outside. Once I got to a sunny part of the sidewalk, I handed her the box and said, "Happy Valentine's Day." A black, rotted husk of a person now just hung in the air, frozen. The only movement was coming from her still beating heart, which was visibly moving up and down with the same rhythm as my own, which was off the charts with terror. I couldn't think of anything else to do except scream, "Leave! Leave now!" I'm on my phone with the police now, sitting in the bathroom, shaking. Every time I peek out into my living room, I can still see her standing there. She gave me a kiss on my cheek. I contemplated asking her out. As I started to walk away, a feeling of not wanting to be a creep was stronger, though, and I let it pass. I gave her one last look from across the street, and she was still standing there smiling and waving a thank you with her body language. In fact, she remained like this the entire time I walked down the block. It was strange. When I got back to my apartment, I swear I could still see her, still standing and waving to nobody, but now she was on the opposite side of the street. Maybe I avoided a real nutjob just now. Being that I parked my work van below the Target, I found myself going back in there almost daily. Sometimes I don't even need anything, and I find myself walking the Target floors. The next time I was in there, I saw her again, the woman in red. I attempted to follow her. At one point, she was near the Starbucks at the front. Then I caught her again near the pharmacy. Each time she turned a corner, and I missed her. It was weird. After 10 minutes of this, I was standing back in the aisle with all the Valentine's Day crap again. Giving up on the woman, finally, I reached back into the same box of chocolates from the day before. The same feeling of guilt washing over me as I stole a piece, which is so funny because who gives a shit about stolen chocolate from Target? I guess I do, apparently. I barely had my teeth into the creamy round chocolate when I bumped into the woman in red with my elbow. She was standing behind me in the same spot as before and was staring at the frozen Valentine's Day chocolate box which I bought for her a couple days ago. I touched her shoulder. "It's you again. I just bought one of these for you 2 days ago." She just stared back at me blankly. This all felt too much familiar. There has to be a word for this feeling. Not déjà vu, but a word more immediate. Just vu. 'Cause this just fucking happened 2 days ago. It wasn't a long-distant memory resurfacing. I grabbed the frozen Valentine's box and walked to the front of the store and paid for it. The woman followed me again, and just like before, I handed it to her on the sidewalk out front. Only this time, I asked her out. "Would you like to come back to my apartment? I only live right over there." I pointed to the apartment complex on First Avenue that I lived in. She nodded her head, and with her free hand took mine, and we went upstairs. This was all so weird, and no way in hell is it ever this easy. I didn't know what I was going to do once we got there, but I was more in a state of shock almost, like I knew I should abort this project ASAP, but couldn't stop myself. I felt this way the one time I called a hooker, and that one time I did bail before anything happened. We get to my floor and I instruct her to sit on the couch while I get us something to drink. She makes it to about halfway and just stands there, smiling and waving again, like from the day before. This bizarre behavior terrified me. I wanted her to leave now. This was a mistake. I sat on my bed, her standing in my living room, out of view while I collected my thoughts. I leaned forward a bit and now can see her. In this short time, her face began to move. Right before my eyes, she appeared to age, and rapidly. Within about 20 seconds, she completely went from young and pretty to old and wrinkled. It didn't stop there. She kept on going, rotting even. Black holes now where her pretty blue eyes used to sit. I work at a candy store, and one of my customers had no face. This is the only place I feel like I can tell this story. My life is complicated, and I have nowhere else to tell it. I live in a semi-small town that, if you get out enough, unlike me, almost everyone will know you. I moved here 3 years ago to start a business, but failed after 2 years due to one of my business partners' drunk mistake. Now I'm stuck here working at a candy store. I'm working the register at the candy store, and there were about 2 customers in the store when I see a man come in. He's wearing jeans and a dark hoodie hiding most of his face. Didn't pay much attention to him until he started walking right towards me. The other 2 customers were still looking, with one at the register desk waiting to pick up of what seemed to be an order of chocolate strawberries for Valentine's Day. The hooded man still coming towards me when I see him stop and turn to some candy. He then picks it up and puts it on the counter in front of me. I'm not one to freak out over strange figures like him, but in a friendly town like this, I was surprised seeing someone like him. That's when he looked down at me. Nothing was there, just a blank pale face looming over me. I'm 6'2". He must have been at least a half a foot taller than me. I broke into a cold sweat. I didn't know what to do, but look if my colleague would look over and see his face. She didn't, and was too busy with the other customer, credit card or cash. He said nothing, until I finally realized what he was buying. A white chocolate heart on a stick with a face on it. The eyes and mouth were drawn on with frosting, the mouth being a little squiggly. The nose was a small upside-down heart. Next thing I knew, he just picked up the heart and held it up to his face. I swear I could see the mouth twitch, cracking a bigger smile. He just left after that, leaving my mind to race, thinking if I was even sane. I'm not one to do drugs anymore, since that's the reason I don't have a good relationship with my parents. But I've been sober for years, and it wasn't even that much of a problem. The real problem was I thought it was over. After closing time, I left the store and immediately looked across the street. to see him. I froze again. With my luck, I was the only one in the store, with the job to close up. I see him make a gesture with his hand. I used to have a friend who taught me some sign language, and trust me, I can remember enough that what he said was thank you. Didn't eat any of the candy my work gifted to me for Valentine's Day that night.